Well, the Mothman tapes is a good example of showing just how much of a sucker I am for found footage movies. So, there's bound to be. I haven't seen one on Mothman. There's got to be. Probably several. I'll need to look into that. But this one, it's not the typical Mothman story of Point Pleasant and all that. This is a Mothman who haunts somewhere in Britain. So you got these three British guys who want to break into filmmaking and all that, and here they're going to do this sort of paranormal investigation documentary type film, and they've got this guy who's their main, actor or whatever, who's the host, however you want to put it, who's setting this up. They're absolutely incompetent. It's an attempt at comedy, and that's the whole thing. It's supposed to be more of a comedy that ends very horrifically, and they almost kind of have it. The lead guy, has some comedic chops here and there about just being this complete a-hole. The other two are just dullards and all of that. But big problem right off the bat, most of it is in broad daylight. They've got some digital effects here of the creature that does appear, and for the most part it's kind of fine. I mean, it's a brief, you look and you blink and you miss it, and it appears behind a tree and flies away and all this sort of stuff. But it's broad daylight. It just doesn't really work. There's one scene that's particularly bad where they see it in the middle of the road and it takes off flying and this sort of thing. There's a car crash involving them. It's very badly done, not convincing at all. That's too bad. Perhaps tightened and reined in a bit might have worked, but it just wasn't gonna. It just wasn't going to work at all. And so they get stuck out there. One of them gets obviously killed by the creature. They run into a real paranormal investigator, but he hightails it out of there. And one by one, it's down to two, and then eventually there's one, and then that's it. And does the Blair Witch ending of looking into the camera, and that's what. So finally, at the end, it's nighttime. Now, my guess is the digital effects they did for the Mothman creature just wouldn't work in darkness. Would have thought basically that the red eyes and the wings flapping, just the sound of it might have been enough to get some scares here and there. But they didn't do it that way. They're running from the creature. They get into a church and are hiding in it. That probably would have been a lot better, having some darkness, but you could have light in it to get some shadows to have more of the eeriness. The scene they do is sort of okay, where the creature, they're looking to see if the creature got in, and they're hiding, and then they take a look and, whoo, there he is, and this sort of thing. But for the most part, it really, and it's done on the cheap, very cheap, but it just doesn't really come together or work at all. And so, for whatever reason, it has to have been something like that, to say, well, we can't shoot this at night because the effect we're using will work better in daylight to see this black figure flapping around. You won't see it at night because it's too dark. I'm assuming something of that nature. And they didn't have the wherewithal to manipulate light here and there to have it, somewhat dark, evening type scenario or something like that, where you can still make out the shape of the creature. A lot of this, especially with found footage, you have to create the psychological atmosphere to where you almost never really see the monster. If ever, it's at the tail end and it's brief and that sort of thing. But beyond that, there's really not a whole lot else for you to do. And when it's not much to begin with, and then you show it anyway, so and then this is one where I'm looking at the time. It's not that long of a film, but still, I'm like, this is going nowhere. And I guess I kind of feel sorry for it now at this point. But a better attempt at it, and perhaps reining in some of the unnecessary elements. But I don't know. Mothman, the subject matter, you could, and of course there are documentaries people believe it really happened and this sort of thing. But to take that and make it into the found footage element, to where someone went to go encounter the entity and they were never heard from again, but their footage was found, and that's the basic setup for just about all of them. And that would be a means by which to do it. It does meet my ultimate rule of criteria in the sense that they are filmmakers and they want to get the film, and then they find themselves in situations where the camera light's their only light, and that, of course, is when they finally get to nighttime, which is odd because the light starts to go out, which they didn't use it. They were in daytime. Because the camera's still recording even when the light went out, so it wasn't like the whole thing was out of battery power and just went out. Strange choice in that, but at least for the most part the criteria is there, except towards the end. I think you're ditching the camera and running like hell, desperate for some escape. So it's not worth giving it a shot, I don't think. It's unfortunate, but there's got to be other Mothman films, I would think, because it's an obvious subject. Of course, going way back to Blair Witch, there was a competing found footage film at the time that few even noticed, because the Blair Witch hysteria was pretty big and all that at the time. Was The Last Broadcast, which is about the Jersey Devil myth, and so that one plays out. It was an interesting take. The ending destroys the whole found footage element, so they messed up on that. But leading up to it, and especially since the approach was the documentary approach and that sort of thing, was actually pretty good. But anyway, the subject matter for this type of genre of film, certainly cryptids and that sort of thing, would be excellent subject matter for it. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. A simple search what should do it to see if there's any other Mothman films in the found footage genre.